Good morning, class. We will be discussing about the tools and materials in sewing. Our objectives for this topic, we have A. Classify tools and materials according to their use, measuring, cutting, and sewing. And B. Explain the uses of the tools and materials in sewing. Class, before we proceed to our main topic, let's define first the following words. First, skill, followed by artistic, and we also have sewing machine, and also the cutting, and the last one is the pin cushion. For a skill, it is a mastery in doing something as a technique or a trade. Artistic, having a disposition towards art. Sewing machine is a machine used to sew fabric and materials together with thread. Cutting, cut of clothing refers to the way the garment hangs on the body based on the shape of the fabric pieces used to construct it. Pin cushion is usually filled with wool, sanddash, or hair filling. Its covering can be made of velvet, felt, or wool fabric. This permits the pin to slip in and out of the cushion. Class, here are some examples of the sewing projects. Based on the pictures being shown, can you tell me what are they? Those are bags, throw pillows, wallets, and others. This time, we'll have our pre-test. Directions, multiple choice. Choose the letter corresponding to the best answer. Write the letter of the correct answer before the number. Number 1. Which among these tools is used for drawing horizontal lines? A. Protractor. B. Ruler. C. Triangle. D. T-square. Number 2. An equipment for sewing is a blank. A. Needle. B. Sewing machine. C. Thimble. D. Thread. Number 3. A tool to transfer markings from pattern is to cloth is A. Pencil. B. Ruler. C. Thread. D. Tracing wheel. Number 4. It is used to cut the threads and to trim the edges of embroidered scallop. A. Needles. B. Threads. C. Scissors. And D. Tracing wheel. Number 5. This is used to protect the finger from needles, especially when working on quick and heavy fabrics where it is difficult to push needles in or out. A. Needle. B. Thimble. C. Thread. Or D. T-square. For number 6, you're going to fill in the missing letters to complete the word. Number 1, we have it is used to stitch fabric and other materials together with thread. For number 7, we have it is a measuring tool for drawing long and straight lines on fabric to be cut. And for number 8, it is an ideal for cutting threads, paper, and other small articles. Number 9, used to temporarily hold up or hold together pieces of fabric until they are ready. Number 10, it is a primarily tool in sewing. For our looking back, direction. Which activity shows proper precautionary measures? Put a check if the statement is correct and put an X if it is not. Number 1, do not use teeth in cutting the thread. Number 2, put the needles and pins between the lips. And number 3, use the thimble for pushing the needle through the cloth. Number 4, place the sewing tools properly in the sewing box after use. And number 5, keep the sewing materials out of the reach of a small children. And number 6, keep all your tools in sewing box. They should be arranged neatly. And number 7, wipe your scissors dry before keeping it. Number 8, keep your tape measure folded or rolled when not in use. Number 9, always put your sewing box in a safe place and out of children's reach. And number 10, do not choose good quality sewing tools, especially shears. Now this time, we will be discussing about the cutting tools. The first one, we have the scissors. The second one, we have pinking shears. And the third one, we have bent-handled dressmaker shears. Scissors, it is used to trim pieces of fabric. The two handles are same in size. Pinking shears, it is used to cut seam edges on the fabric from raveling. The zigzag cuts they make also serve as decorative patterns. For bent-handled dressmakers shears, it is used to cutting large pieces of fabric. They may be 6 to 12 inches in length. Sizes are 7 and 8 are commonly used. Aside from cutting tools, we also have the measuring tools. We have ruler, tape measure, and dressmaker's gauge. Ruler used to mark the lines or patterns on the fabric. It can be made up of plastic, wood, or metal. Tape measure, this is used to take body measurements. The best tape measure is made of plastic or laminated materials with metal ends. It must be flexible and must not stretch or tear easily. Dressmaker's gauge used to take detailed measurements such as the distance between the buttons holes, pleats, and the hems. For sewing tools, needle. We also have thimble and also thread, dressmaker's pins, pin cushion and emery bag, and needle threader. Needle, it is a pointed metal with an eye to carry thread and sew fabrics together. They come in size 1 to 12. Thread, used to sew fabrics. This comes in different colors and should match the fabric for which it will be used. Dressmaker's pins, this is used to hold pieces of fabrics temporarily. Needle threader, this helps to pull the thread through the eyes of the needle. Pin cushion and emery bag holds the pins and needles that are not in use. Thimble, this protects the middle finger from being pricked when pushing the needle through the cloth. It should fit the finger well. Thimble comes in size 6 to 12. To summarize of what we discussed today, we have the cutting tools like the scissors, the pinking shears, and the bent-handled dressmaker shears. For measuring tools, we have the ruler, the tape measure, the dressmaker gauge. And for sewing tools, we have the needle, the thread, the dressmaker pins, needle threader, pin cushion and emery bag, and also the thimble. Class, what did you learn today? You've learned about the tools and materials in sewing. For our activities, we have letter A, we have classify the sewing tools and write them under the correct heading. And we have needle, the ruler, the scissors, the thread, tape measure, pinking shears, pin cushion, dressmaker gauge, bent handle dressmaker shears, and last one, thimble. Write your answer inside the boxes under sewing, measuring, and cutting. B. Matching type. Match the column A with the correct answer in column B. Number 1. Mrs. Cruz wants to cut a piece of fabric. Number 2. Your mother wants to measure the length of your clothes. Number 3, you want to make sure that your finger is free from prick. Number 4, Mrs. Paddle wants to mark layer lines or pattern on the fabric. And number 5, it is use of sewing that is very fine slender piece of metal with a point at one end and hole or eye for a thread. Number 6, Mary Grace wants to place all the needles to hold the pieces of fabric temporarily. And number 7, your grandmother needs a device for helping to put a thread through the eyes of a needle. And number 8, after the mother sews your clothes, she gets a small cushion into which pins are stuck for convenient storage. Number 9, it is used in sewing or weaving that is along thin strands of cotton, nylon, or other fiber. Number 10, it is used to measure the distance between the buttons, the buttonholes, pleats, and the hems. C. Identification. Write on the line the name of the sewing materials described in each item. Number 1, this is used for binding or fastening fabrics together. Number 2, this is used to protect the finger from needles, especially when working on thick and heavy fabrics where it is difficult to push the needles in or out. Number 3, these cutting tools has serrated cutting blades designed to make a zigzag pattern on the edge of the materials it cuts. Number 4, this is a handled cutting tool with 2 blades attached or 2 handles of the same size with the same hole diameter for the fingers. Number 5, this is a pointed metal with an eye to carry the thread. Number 6, this is used to take body measurements. And number 7, this is used to mark lines or patterns on a fabric. Number 8, this is used to take the detailed measurements such as the distance between buttons, the buttonholes, pleats, and the hems. Number 9, it is used to hold the pins and needles that are not in use. And number 10, it is used to hold the pieces of fabric temporarily. Class, please remember that sewing is an enjoyable activity. It can develop positive work attitude that like creativity, patience, hard work, and perseverance. Sewing materials are classified as either large or small, and then further classified according to their uses. This time, we'll have our post test. Multiple choice, choose the letter corresponding to the best answer. Write the letter of your answer on the space before each number. Number 1. This is used for binding or fastening fabrics together. A. Scissors. B. Tape measure. C. Thimble. D. Thread. Number 2. This is used to measure the person's dimension. A. Needle. B. Scissors. C. Tape measure. And D. Thread. Number 3. This cutting tool has serrated cutting blades designed to make zigzag pattern on the edge of the materials it cuts. A. Needle. B. Pinking shears. C. Tape measure. And D. Thimble. Number 4. This is a handle cutting tool with 2 blades attached to 2 handles of the same hole diameter for the fingers. A. Needle. B. Scissors. C. Tape measure. And D. Thimble. Number 5. It protects middle finger from being pricked when pushing the needle through the cloth. A. Needle. B. Thimble. C. Thread. And D. Tracing wheel. Number 6. This helps to pull the thread through the eye of the needle. A. Needle threader. B. Ruler. C. Seam ripper. And D. Soft pencil. Number 7. This is used to hold the pieces of fabric temporarily. A. Dressmaker's pin. B. Ruler. C. Scissors. And D. Tracing wheel. Number 8. It holds the pins and the needles that are not in use. A. Needle. B. Pin cushion. C. Seam ripper. And D. Sewing kit. Number 9. This is used to mark or patterns on fabric. A. Ruler. B. Shears. C. Tape measure. D. tailor's chalk. Number 10, it is used to drive thread into the fabric being stitched. A. Needle. B. Ruler. C. Tape measure. D. Thimble. Now class, after answering your post-test, I want you to answer some of the activities in your module. Class, this is the end of our discussion and I'll see you next time. Please be reminded to study your next lesson. Thank you.